welcome back. And if you are someone who is just trying to eat less and less and you're still struggling to lose weight, then you are basically creating your own problem. So I know I might sound a bit crazy by mentioning that eating less ain't going to give you the weight loss that you're looking for, but I'm going to need you to hear me out, because today I want to share with you why we can't starve ourselves thin. Now, yes, technically you actually can, but I want to teach you from a health perspective of why you might be stuck in that limbo where you feel like even when you barely eat a thing, the weight is holding on to you for dear life, right? And what you need to do to shift that. So the problem really is with the starving, right? The starving yourself thin is kind of everything that we might have been taught at a younger age, especially if you have older parents. That generation of women were just told to cut back and eat less and eat just cabbage and drink a bottle of wine and that will be enough, or smoke a pack of cigarettes, right? So we think that we might need to diet to look good. Maybe exercise a lot and eat less. That's what you need to do. Except for if it actually worked, then you probably wouldn't be here watching this video. So there's a reason why it doesn't work, right? And it's not because you're broken. That's not a thing, right? And also I wouldn't have a business if it worked. So before I get into it, I would love for you to just drop the word replay if you're watching this on replay. If you're catching up later in the comments, just let me know. So I know that if this is going to be helpful for you, let me know at the end of this video. So I do chat to hundreds of women each day, across the week, should I say, across all my social platforms, and then also with my clients. And every week, at least 2 women I have the same conversation will have this same experience. So she's eating healthy, trying to lose weight for years and years and years. Maybe she's cut portions and tracked calories and done intermittent fasting, tried cutting carbs and sugar and wine, and yet the scale just doesn't budge. And even though she's eating less and less, and maybe she's skipping breakfast and skipping meals, right? Typically, you might think that it's your fault, like you're broken, like you're the exception to the rule, like you just lack the willpower, or if it wasn't for X, you'd have lost weight by now, right? X is usually a lack of time, or the husband, or the kids, friends, mums who bakes, right? The kids at school, if you're a teacher, or maybe it's just the dog's fault. But absolutely none of these are true for every circumstance that I see. And it often feels true, but that's because we are so blinded by our own experiences and opinions and emotions, and we can only see things through our lens, right? We can only see what we can see. So what is typically and usually true is that nobody ever taught us women how our body actually works. And look, that's not a dig to our older generation. We were just as much drowning in skinny-centered media, in the magazines and the news and celebrities with, like I mentioned, right, cigarettes being pushed by doctors for weight loss. You know, we have that very similar experiences right now, right? And the frustrating thing is that because you're doing all the things and you're putting in all the effort, you're not seeing results, right? That is really frustrating. Now, my clients and myself have learned how to put 50% of the effort and reap all of the abundant rewards. And the problem is that crash dieting is actually depleting your body over time. And so what happens is we are protecting our fat. We're trying to store onto it. We're not burning it. Right? But a depleted, maybe stressed, undernourished body is not going to want to burn fat, and it will protect it at all costs before you start in the transition of actually starving yourself to death, right? This is what your body is designed to do. And this is where I hear a lot, my metabolism is broken, right? If you've ever thought that your metabolism is broken, you've probably experienced trying to diet and nothing's working, right? So you probably put yourself in a calorie deficit for a longer period of time, but it doesn't work. And 1, your metabolism isn't broken. That's actually a load of garbage. And 2, it's it's just not the truth, right? Which is actually amazing news, because how you get to do now you get to do something about it, right? Rather than sitting back and blaming something that you actually can't change. You can change it. Your metabolism isn't broken. It is playing a game with you. It's playing Simon Says. So when you're consistently eating too little, too few calories, right? Too maybe little volume, too little fiber, or even just the wrong types of foods, you are not giving your body as much calories as it needs to balance out what your output is, right? So your body goes, you're not giving me enough food for what I need. You're not giving me enough fuel for the fire that you want, that you're asking for. So your body will say, famine, right? There's a famine. So what it's going to do is it's going to go into what some people will call the survival mode. And this is essentially where your body starts slowing your metabolism, right? It starts slowing your BMR, your basal metabolic rate. And it's going to reduce the amount of calories that you burn in a day, and to conserve as much energy as possible to stay alive until you actually find real nourishment. So it essentially becomes really effective at doing what it's supposed to do, which is keeping you alive, right? And you see, we actually haven't evolved a great deal from caveman times, and this is like a survival mechanism for back then, right? But it doesn't necessarily work in the world that we live in today in 2026. We see this a lot across a lot of diet mentality and behavior, where it actually, the world that we live in now isn't catered for our primitive wiring. So to keep you alive in this perceived famine, your brain is going to detect this danger, and it will say, hey, look, we are going to reduce our BMR, reduce the amount of energy, reduce the fire that we are creating. And we're also going to release some cortisol and adrenaline through your body so you can stay alive, right? And cortisol, it's a stress hormone, and a heavy, prolonged dietary restriction is also a stressor. So when your body is pumping cortisol out throughout your body, you are going to also hold on to a little extra fat around your belly, because we might need it later, right? We might need it for survival. It doesn't know that the supermarket is down the road. It doesn't know you've got food in the fridge. So we tend to notice a little bit more fat accumulation around the belly area as well when we are highly stressed, or when we are just living in a fight or flight system, right? So now your body is really effective at conserving energy. You subconsciously maybe move less, fidget less, sleep a little bit more. So you're slowing down your output. Now you're requiring less energy to match that slowed output, right? So you become so efficient at conserving all of this energy. All you need to do really is skip breakfast and lunch, eat dinner, because that's how you are healthy, or that's how you're good throughout the day, right? But after dinner, you're probably going to feel like you've lost control. Your body is still in an energy surplus, because you then go and grab loads of food and maybe overeat at dinner. But even this being good all day and having one big meal in the evening can actually make you binge or eat, just even overeat, more than what you have now trained your body to use. So now we are in a calorie surplus. So this is why you can eat so little, especially over a long period of time of dieting. Maybe you've dieted your whole life, or you've done yo-yo dieting before. This decreases your basal metabolic rate. It decreases your metabolism, right? So you can be in all of that pain all day long, skipping meals and saying no to the office, the break room treats, and trying to not think and obsess about food. All that pain and discomfort and all that stress is frustrating. And that could actually be for nothing if at the end of the day you then overeat in the evening. And that can be very easy to do if you have trained your body to use far fewer calories, right? There's like this sense of irony here. You eat less to lose weight, then your body becomes more efficient at conserving energy. Cortisol tells your body to hold on to fat. Like, this is a really crappy cycle to be in, where it feels impossible. It feels like you're doing everything. It feels like you're pushing a boulder uphill every single day. You're battling all this food noise because, don't forget, you're in a calorie deficit. You're losing weight. So your body is naturally sending out all of these thoughts about food, like eat, right? So you turn into a fat storage unit instead of a fat burning machine. And this is why trying to diet harder never actually works if you want to become that fat burning machine. So the answer is not less foods. Eat less foods. It's actually make more healthy, conscious choices. Eat more volume, more nourishment, more of the right fuel. Because your body needs to feel that safety. It needs to know that it's actually getting enough fuel before it will let go of fat. Okay, because it's prioritizing survival, not fat loss and not aesthetics. So unless you go into full prisoner of war style and literally starve yourself to death, you'll find it very, very difficult, right? So if restriction is the problem, what then is the solution? So I want to give you two key things that your body actually needs to create the conditions, the right conditions for fat loss. And when I say fat loss, I mean real, sustainable, keep it off fat loss, right? Because if you're here just to get rid of a quick 10 pounds and regain it, go somewhere else. Because what I teach women is a sustainable approach. So you can get rid of the fat, get rid of any illness, increase your energy, increase your mood. I want you to live a vibrant, long, healthy life. I want you to improve the quality of your life, not just the waistline, okay? So last week, I actually told 2 clients that they need to eat more to lose more weight. So both felt like they had plateaued for a short while. So I got them to report back to me. I was like, hey, just let me know what you're eating. Tell me what you're eating. And one of my responses to one of my clients was, that's your snack, right? She was like, no, that's lunch. I was like, okay, well, that could be why, right? She got a little bit swept up with the way that we can eat over in our world, which is really eating really low calorie density foods. But that can actually just bring your metabolism down so low, right? She'd already dropped 40 pounds. So at a couple of weeks, a standstill, she actually realized that she wasn't eating enough calories. Now, we don't count calories, okay? So we follow systems and frameworks. That means that we don't count calories. I don't count calories. I have counted calories before for information and education purposes, but I don't do it with my clients and I don't do it with myself. But we use systems and frameworks that get us into a calorie deficit without even feeling like it. So what she was doing is she was feeling amazing, right? She'd lost 40 pounds. She was feeling amazing, but because she was eating these high volume, low calorie dense foods and she just needed a little bit of a tweak, what was happening is she was consuming too few calories. So a couple of little tweaks, and 6 days later, she dropped 2 pounds again. So she was back on track to continuously losing 0.5 to 2 pounds a week, because that's a sustainable loss, right? So she told me that she'd never felt full like she does now while losing weight. And what she was eating didn't feel like a diet, right? That's why she accidentally bossed it so hard that her metabolism just needed a little bit of time to play catch up. But because she was playing Simon Says and she was saying, here, eat a few calories, her body was going, okay, fine, I will slow down, right? So she actually sent me a message and said, oh my God, I think my body is loving the extra calories this week, because that's when she dropped the 2 pounds and she's back on track again, right? So we just did this by increasing her calories using the frameworks, again, not counting, but using the systems. And that was just simply the catalyst to get her back to dropping the weight again. So key one is just to make sure that you're eating enough, right? And no, not enough food to feed a toddler, right? I mean, enough food to feed an adult? Do you have a very active lifestyle, a very sedentary lifestyle? Do you have a lot of responsibilities before and after work? Do you gym a lot, right? So you need to be mindful about the fact that you do need to eat more, even if you want to be in a calorie deficit, even if you want to lose weight, you need to be able to eat enough to fuel your daily activities. And if you're constantly yo-yo dieting and you're on and you're off and you're on and you're off, or if you're in a severe calorie deficit, your body is going to slow down to match that. Yeah, and that's when we get to that point where your body is like, I can't do anything else. You need to take us out of this famine, and then I will take you out of this survival mode, right? So you have to eat more to lose more. And like I said, I don't track calories because I've created these frameworks. So I wouldn't necessarily recommend tracking calories, but it's not a sustainable approach. It's boring as hell. But if your body has become more efficient at keeping you alive, you might feel like you're really struggling with, what to eat and how much to eat. So, it could be a good tool, or you can just come and join us. So because your body is screaming out for nourishment, eat more, provide more nourishment and more nutrition, right? It's just about improving your nutritional IQ and working with calorie dense and calorie poor foods, and knowing what is creating the more of a deficit and less of a deficit is probably one of the single most powerful tools that I teach, right? Because most women are trying to eat small plates of calorie dense foods as well and try and feel full, and that doesn't work, right? So your stomach has these stretch receptors that it registers volume, not calories. So a small portion of something that's calorie dense, like nuts and oils or processed food, that's never going to hit those stretch receptors to say, hey, I'm full, I've had enough volume, I've had enough food, right? But when you choose whole food, plant-based, you can have these massive bowls of food that's going to be fiber rich, water rich, nutrient dense. It's going to literally fill up space in your stomach, and it's going to keep you full for hours because of that fiber, right? It contains also a fraction of the calories as something like processed food. So you can have that's why you can have a little tiny bit of processed food and all of this low calorie dense food and feel full and still be in a calorie deficit. So in my world, the women who are eating the bigger plates are losing more weight. Also, step number two, key number two, is to sort your nervous system out, right? This one takes people a little bit by surprise, but your nervous system has a massive, massive impact on your body's ability to lose weight, what you're thinking about, what you're craving, right? Because when we're chronically stressed, whether that's life stress, emotional stress, physiological stress, like the restriction, maybe inflammation because you're just battering your body with inflammatory foods, your nervous system is going to constantly be in this activated fight or flight mode, right? This is going to keep the cortisol levels high, and that's in your fat protective state. It's going to impact your sleep. When we are sleep deprived, typically, if we have a few hours less of sleep a day, we will typically eat about 300 to 500 more calories the next day unintentionally, right? So this high cortisol, this jacked up nervous system is going to impact your sleep. That's going to impact your cravings and maybe even impact the amount of food that you're eating the next day unintentionally. So that's all going to make weight loss far harder. So there's an easy way to do weight loss, and there's a hard way to do weight loss. And that's what I teach. I teach the easy way, right? I teach you the easy way to lose weight. And I tell my clients, if you think I'm doing anything in a complicated way, if you think that what I'm doing is going to be difficult or time consuming or just hard, you've got to think again, because I am lazy when it comes to staying lean and being fit and healthy. I am so freaking lazy. I do the bare minimum, right? But the bare minimum gets results. Look, of course, it is possible to lose weight by way of starvation. We know this from slavery, prisoners of war, right? And now GLP-1s, we know that. We know that GLP-1s just basically stop you from eating. So you have to be in a calorie deficit to lose weight, right? That's how it works. But being in a calorie deficit, there's a little bit more nuance to that. And being in one can either be hard, feel like you're riding a roller coaster, like white knuckling it through life, through cravings, like you're hitting your head against a brick wall every day, every corner, every noise, every thought that comes in louder and louder because your body is fighting for literal survival. Or we can make it far easier. We can protect your nervous system. We can learn how to regulate emotions. We can learn how to process trauma. We can learn how to understand what your body actually needs. Making sure that it's regulated and relaxed and in a state of control, a relaxed control, as much as possible, right? So women who put pressure on trying to do everything right by themselves or their families, those who have ongoing like to do task lists, those of you who have a responsibility, maybe you're responsible for others, right? This might be one of the reasons why you're struggling to lose weight, because your body is probably fighting this survival instinct, right? You have a jacked up, wired up nervous system, and that's not your fault, but it could just be getting in the way, right? So food isn't always going to be the only consideration that we have to look at when it comes to weight loss. And this is really what we dive deep into in the Her Plant-Powered Reset. That's my free 5-day challenge. Because although weight loss is partly about food, it's not the whole shebang, right? It's not the whole enchilada. We are all unique individuals. So for many, right, for many people, they're all right with a free meal plan. They're good as gold. But for most of us, another meal plan or recipe book that's gathering dust on the bookshelf doesn't actually give us the food freedom that we want, that we need. So yes, going whole food plant-based and doing it right, because that's half the picture, right? That's why that's at the root of my challenge and my coaching programs. And if you're thinking like, yeah, I tried plant-based, I tried vegan, and I'm still not getting those results that everyone harps on about, you are not the only one, right? The majority of my client base are already vegan or want to be vegan, but are struggling to make the lifestyle work for them. So this is why we talk a lot about how to eat in a way that nourishes you so well and so fully that you effortlessly lose weight, right? As a side effect of nourishing your life, of improving the quality of your life. Because plant-based eating is one of the most powerful dietary approaches for sustainable, keyword, weight loss that actually exists, right? Yes, other diets can help you lose weight, but they aren't something that you could really like sign a lifelong contract over. The research is clear that a whole food plant-based diet is consistently associated with prevention and reversal of lifestyle illness and diseases like diabetes, obesity, heart disease, dementia, Alzheimer's, right? Some cancers, and more like overall lower body weight, lower inflammation, better gut health, better hormone function, right? The list goes on. But, and this is a big but, going plant-based doesn't automatically mean that you turn into a fat-burning machine, right? You've got to have all of the pieces of the puzzle. And this is when we talk about nervous system. This is when we talk about habits and your environment. And these are all the things that we talk about in the free 5-day challenge, right? So if you're interested in turning into a fat-burning machine, if you want to turn away from being a fat storage machine, you feel like that fat storage machine right now. If you want to improve your hormone health, speed up your metabolism, not slow it down so that you can eat more food and lose more weight simultaneously. If you want to lift your mood, improve your energy, there's only one place that you need to be next week, and that's the Her Plant-Powered Reset. So I want you to drop the word challenge in the comments or in my DMs. And if you're watching this on YouTube, I'll link in the description, the sign up link, and I'll teach you how to quit dieting, to use plants and psychology and habits and everything else that is involved to lose weight, look amazing, feel amazing, and have that be a sustainable result, something that you can keep forever. Okay, so this one, we start on Monday. the 20th of April. However, I do run them occasionally. It's 5 days, it's free, there's no counting, no restriction, no overwhelm, and a bunch of free resources and bonuses that I give away each time. So registration will close at the end of the week before the challenge. Make sure you drop in the comments challenge. And if you have any questions, put them in there as well. I read every single one of them. So thank you so much for being here today, and I'll see you on the inside.